There is a specific kind of person who will never admit they are competing with you. They will smile at your success while quietly measuring it against their own. They will celebrate you just enough so you never suspect them. They will listen to your plans with curious eyes and walk away determined to do it first, do it better, or make sure you do it slower. Most people think competition is obvious. They imagine rivals with sharp eyes and cold words. They imagine tension you can feel in the room. But the most dangerous competition in your life right now is silent. It wears the face of friendship. It sits across from you at dinner. It texts you congratulations and means something entirely different. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote that the most dangerous enemy is the one who wears the mask of a friend. Not because the mask is perfect, but because you want so badly to believe it is real. And that desire, that need to trust the people around you, is exactly what silent competitors exploit. Here is the disturbing truth most people never allow themselves to see. Not everyone who is close to you wants you to rise. Some people in your life have quietly made your success their measuring stick. Your growth makes them feel smaller. Your peace disturbs their war, and they will never say a word about it. They don't have to. The competition is already happening, completely without your knowledge. In this video, we will uncover the 8 signs that someone is competing with you in silence. These are the psychological patterns, the behavioral tells, the hidden emotional signals that reveal a silent competitor before they reveal themselves. Pay close attention, because once you see these signs, you cannot unsee them. You share good news, something real, something earned. And instead of a clean, simple celebration, you get a response that feels slightly off. That's amazing. You know, I actually almost did something similar last year. Good for you. It took you a while, but you got there. I'm proud of you. That's exactly the kind of thing I've been working toward. Most people dismiss these responses as social awkwardness. They tell themselves the other person is just bad at expressing emotion. And sometimes that is true, but there is a pattern worth examining. When someone cannot let your moment exist without inserting themselves into it, without redirecting the attention, without diminishing the achievement through comparison, something deeper is operating beneath the surface. Carl Jung called this the shadow, the part of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge, the parts driven by envy, insecurity, and the desperate need to feel significant. A silent competitor is not always consciously aware of what they are doing. Their shadow operates in the background, quietly steering their responses so that no one else can fully win without them at least tying the score. The sign is this: they cannot hear your success without making it about themselves. They cannot stand in your light without measuring whether it outshines theirs. Watch for the qualifier. The subtle undermining, the achievement accepted with one hand and gently reduced with the other. A genuine supporter says, "You deserve this." A silent competitor says, "You deserve this. But let me tell you why I'm also in the race." There is something seductive about sharing your plans with someone who seems deeply interested. It feels like intimacy. It feels like they believe in you. But ask yourself this: why does this particular person always want to know what you are working on before it is finished? The silent competitor is extraordinarily curious about your unrealized goals, your business ideas before they launch, your relationship plans before they unfold, your career moves before they happen. They ask with warmth and with genuine seeming curiosity. And you share because you trust them, because it feels good to be understood, because they asked so well. What you may not realize is that information about your future is strategic intelligence. A silent competitor collects it not to support you, but to stay one step ahead, to quietly pursue the same goal, to know your timeline so they can beat it. or simply to hold your vulnerabilities in their hands. Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius warned that we must be careful about who we allow into the inner chamber of our intentions. He understood that the most powerful thing you own is the vision you have not yet spoken. The sign is not that someone asks about your plans. Good friends do that. The sign is that this person always seems to know where you are headed before you arrive, and you gradually notice they are always somehow heading in the same direction. They do not copy you dramatically. They adjust. They quietly pivot. They arrive somewhere close to where you are going, and they act like it was always their path. Your unspoken plans are your power. Be selective about who you invite into that space. Pay attention to what happens after you succeed at something. You get a promotion. You launch something. You reach a milestone. And suddenly, the person you have been watching starts moving faster, posting more, announcing things, sharing achievements they had been quiet about for months. This is not coincidence. In psychology, this is called social comparison theory, first described by Leon Festinger in 1954 and explored deeply since. Human beings instinctively measure their progress against those around them. It is wired into us at a primitive level, but a silent competitor does not use comparison to grow. They use it to react. Your success is not inspiration for them. It is a threat signal. And when the threat signal fires, they mobilize. Nietzsche described this as ressentiment, a French word he used to describe the resentment that builds in those who feel powerless against the success of others. It is a smoldering kind of envy that transforms into action, not the clean, productive action of ambition, but the reactive, anxious action of someone trying to reclaim a sense of superiority that your success just challenged. You will see it in the timing, in the urgency, in the sudden visibility of someone who was quiet until you made noise. The sign is the pattern over time. Once may be coincidence, twice may be circumstance. But if you win and they activate, again and again and again, you are witnessing someone whose internal compass is pointed directly at you. This sign is harder to catch because it happens behind your back. A silent competitor rarely attacks you to your face. That would be obvious. That would expose the competition. Instead, they work in the subtle art of narrative management. They do not say you are bad. They say you got lucky. They do not say you failed. They say the success probably will not last. They do not question your ability directly. They ask, but is it really as big a deal as it seems? In conversations you will never hear, they plant seeds of doubt about you in the minds of people you care about. And because they do it subtly, wrapped in apparent reasonableness, it rarely gets traced back to them. Schopenhauer wrote that envy is the engine of most human cruelty, that people rarely destroy what they hate. More often, they quietly erode what they fear. Fear because they cannot match it. Fear because your success reveals something uncomfortable about their own limitations. The sign you can watch for is how they speak about you in group settings, not when they know you are listening, but in casual moments, in offhand comments, in the energy they project when your name is mentioned. A genuine friend defends your reputation when you are not in the room. A silent competitor quietly chips at it, not with a hammer, but with a whisper. This is one of the subtler signs, and it is deeply revealing. When you are struggling, a silent competitor is often surprisingly kind, supportive, even generous. They offer help. They are present. They check in. And this confuses you, because how can someone who competes with you also care for you? The answer is darker than most people want to accept. When you are below them, or even beside them, they feel safe. The competition is manageable. The hierarchy is comfortable. But when you are thriving, when you are relaxed, confident, moving forward with ease. You trigger something in them. Your peace becomes a kind of accusation. Your contentment exposes their restlessness. And suddenly, this same person who was warm and available becomes strangely cold, distant, or critical. Jung called this the dynamic of the shadow and the persona, the way human beings unconsciously respond to others who have integrated what they themselves are still fighting. Your wholeness agitates their fragmentation. Watch for the person who supports you most warmly in your difficulty and becomes most uncomfortable with your ease. Their discomfort at your peace is the sign. Because a true ally celebrates both your struggles and your victories. Only a silent competitor needs you in some degree of pain to feel safe. This sign requires attention over months, not days. You begin working towards something, a creative project, a business, a personal transformation, a lifestyle change. You share it in passing, maybe once, maybe twice. And weeks or months later, you notice this person quietly pursuing something almost identical. And here is the tell. They never acknowledge the connection. They speak about this new direction as if it emerged purely from within them, as if you never mentioned it, as if the conversation that seeded their decision never happened. Sometimes this is unconscious. An idea enters a person's mind and plants itself so deeply that it feels like their own. Psychology calls this cryptomnesia, the phenomenon where we forget the source of an idea and begin to experience it as original thought. But other times, it is entirely deliberate. The silent competitor knows exactly what they are doing. They see a path you are walking and decide to walk it faster. They adopt your aspiration and make it a race, one they choose not to tell you about. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who was once a slave, taught that we must be careful to separate what is truly ours from what we have taken from others without acknowledgement. He understood that the life of integrity begins with honesty about what we owe to whom. The sign is the combination of influence without credit and the sudden sense that your path is somehow crowded by a person who was not originally on it. Your direction is yours. But not everyone who walks beside you chose the destination independently. There is a difference between someone who asks about your life and someone who interrogates your progress. A silent competitor asks the right questions. They make them sound like care. But if you listen carefully to the nature of what they are asking, you will notice the questions always circle back to the same territory. How much have you made? How far have you gotten? Who have you connected with? What is next? How did that go? They are building a map. Every answer you give is a data point. Every update you share is a piece of intelligence. They track your progress not to celebrate it, but to measure it against their own. And what they do with that information is calibrate their next move. This is one of the more sophisticated expressions of silent competition. It requires the ability to perform genuine interest while actually conducting quiet research. The Stoics taught discernment, the ability to distinguish between those who approach you with open-handed generosity and those who approach with hidden agendas. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about the practice of watching actions over time, not isolated words. The pattern reveals the intention. The sign is that after conversations with this person, you feel slightly emptied, slightly overexposed. You shared freely, and they shared carefully. The exchange was asymmetrical, and somehow, you always walk away knowing less about them than they now know about you. That asymmetry is not an accident. It is architecture. This is the final sign, and it is perhaps the most unsettling one. You have not changed in your treatment of this person. You have not become arrogant or distant. You have not done anything to harm the relationship. And yet, since you began growing, since things started going well, since you began becoming more fully yourself. The relationship has become quietly strange. There is a tension that no one names, a slight awkwardness that was not there before. The conversations are a little shorter, a little more careful, a little less warm, and you wonder what you did wrong. You did not do anything wrong. This is the final and most important sign. Your growth itself became the threat. Nietzsche wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra that the eagle does not ask permission to fly higher. But he also knew, and this is the part people forget, that the eagle's ascent is witnessed by those on the ground. And not everyone watching looks up with admiration. Some watch with a quiet, aching awareness that they are not flying. The tension in the relationship is not about you. It is about what your growth reveals to them about their own stillness. Every step forward you take is an unspoken question directed at them. Why are you not moving? The silent competitor cannot answer that question comfortably. So instead of answering it, they create distance. They manage the discomfort by managing their exposure to you. When you grow, and relationships shift without reason, without confrontation, without explanation, you are watching someone respond to your evolution with the only tool available to a wounded ego: retreat. Why does silent competition exist at all? Why not simply acknowledge the feeling, address it, or dissolve it? The answer lives in the architecture of the human ego. From the moment we are born, we are placed in systems of comparison. Who walked first? Who spoke first? Who scored higher, performed better, earned more, traveled further? The modern world has simply accelerated and amplified what was always present in the tribal human psyche: status awareness. We are social animals, and social animals track hierarchy with the same intensity that predators track prey. It is not a character flaw. It is evolution. But here is where it becomes pathological. When the fear of losing status becomes more powerful than the desire to build one's own, comparison curdles into competition. And when that competition cannot be spoken, because admitting it would require vulnerability, honesty, and the acknowledgement of insecurity, it goes underground. Silent competition is what happens when ego protection overrides relational integrity. Carl Jung taught that what we refuse to examine does not disappear. It simply moves beneath the surface and operates from there, untouched by reason or conscience. The person who silently competes with you is often not fully aware of what they are doing. Their shadow, their unexpressed envy, their unacknowledged fear, their wounded sense of worth, is running the program. And Nietzsche would add this: the will to power is not inherently destructive. But when it is misdirected, when a person cannot channel their ambition toward their own expansion and instead turns it toward the containment of others, it becomes one of the most corrosive forces in human relationships. The silent competitor is someone whose internal compass has been pointed at you instead of their own horizon. And the tragedy is that it keeps them from ever truly arriving anywhere. Once you have identified a silent competitor in your life, the question is not how to defeat them. The question is how to protect yourself without losing your peace. Here are 5 principles. First, say less. You do not owe anyone a preview of your life before it is built. The quiet power of working in private is not just tactical, it is protective. Let your results speak when they are ready, not before. Your unfinished plans are sacred. Second, observe without confrontation. You do not need to expose a silent competitor or confront them with what you have noticed. Simply observe. Let the clarity you now possess inform your choices about what you share, how close you remain, and how much access you give. Third, stop seeking their validation. One of the deepest hooks of the silent competitor is that we often care what they think, We want their approval. We want them to finally see us, celebrate us, be proud of us. Release that need. Their validation is not available to you, not because you are unworthy, but because their ego cannot afford to freely give it. Fourth, redirect your energy inward. Every moment you spend analyzing their behavior is a moment stolen from your own growth. The Stoics were relentless on this point. You control your response, your effort, your character, and your direction. Not theirs, not anyone else's. Return to what is yours. Fifth, choose your inner circle with ruthless love. Not cruelty, but clarity. Curate your relationships with the same care you give your goals. The people you allow into your inner world should expand your energy, not drain it. They should be genuinely thrilled by your growth, not secretly measured by it. The highest response to a silent competitor is not a dramatic withdrawal. It is a quiet continuation of your work, your path, your becoming. We live inside a comparison machine. Social media has not invented envy or silent competition, but it has given them a stage of unprecedented scale. Every post is a status update. Every follower count is a public ledger. Every milestone you share is simultaneously visible to your supporters and your silent competitors. The algorithm rewards the performance of success, and the performance of success breeds the audience of envy. We are living through what psychologists are calling the Great Comparison Crisis, a collective inflation of social anxiety driven by the relentless visibility of other people's apparent progress. And in this environment, silent competition has become not an exception, but a norm. People who would never compete openly, who would be embarrassed to admit jealousy, who consider themselves too emotionally evolved for such things, are silently competing every single day. Through their phone, through their feed, through the quiet devastation of watching someone they know achieve something they wanted first. Emotional intelligence in the modern world requires something new. The ability to recognize when you are inside someone else's comparative narrative, when your life has become the measuring stick for someone else's insecurity, and to step out of that frame before it shapes how you move. The attention economy profits from your insecurity. It profits from theirs. It keeps both of you measuring, comparing, reacting, instead of building, creating, becoming. The most revolutionary act available to you right now is to remove yourself from the competition entirely. Not to win it, not to dominate it, to opt out of it, to build something so aligned with your own deepest nature that you stop measuring yourself against anyone else, and make it impossible for anyone else's measurement of you to slow you down. You have come to the end of this exploration, and what you now carry is not just information, it is a lens. The signs you have learned today are not weapons against others. They are windows into the hidden architecture of human insecurity, ego, and fear, including your own. Because the honest observer will admit that, at various points in their life, they too have felt the quiet burn of someone else's success. They too have been the silent competitor. Awareness is not judgment. It is the beginning of a different kind of living. Here's what I want you to take with you. The person who competes with you in silence is not your enemy. They are a mirror, reflecting the unresolved war between ambition and insecurity that lives inside all of us. Have compassion for them, but protect yourself from the consequences of their unresolved war. Rise anyway. Build anyway. Become, fully and without apology, whoever it is you are trying to become. Because the most powerful response to someone who secretly hopes you fail is not confrontation. It is the quiet, relentless, joyful continuation of your own story. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one. We might add, waste no more time watching who is watching you. Simply become someone worth watching. That is your only obligation. The path is yours. Walk it without their permission. Build without their approval. Rise without waiting for them to understand. The silent competition was never about you. It was always about them. And you have somewhere to be.